Now to Haiti, where Tropical Depression Grace caused flooding overnight in areas already hard hit by Saturday's earthquake. The storm ruined some of the temporary shelters that were set up for those without homes. Now, this comes after rescue teams spent yesterday digging through the rubble, searching for anyone that still could be trapped underneath. More than 1,400 people were killed and thousands more were hurt in the country's deadliest quake since 2010. Vladimir Duthiers is in the capital with more on the story. Vlad, it's the last thing they need there. What is the situation today?
Gayle, right now, hospitals are becoming overwhelmed by the thousands of injured patients, and that is just the hospitals that are still standing. In the hardest hit areas of the island, many are now piles of rubble, leaving those in need of help scrambling.
In the hard-hit town of Lekai, these white tents serve as makeshift triage units for some of those injured in the wreckage. The agony of those being treated is painted on their faces. The small hospitals there can barely take in more patients. For those suffering the most serious injuries, a trip to bigger hospitals like Hôpital d'Adventiste d'Haïti in Port-au-Prince is necessary. Medical Director Scott Nelson has been working here since 2010's earthquake.
We have many people that are in the emergency room on the floor and outside for lack of more space.
What kind of injuries are you seeing from these earthquake victims?
With earthquakes, every type of orthopedic injury is produced, and many of these are crush injuries, severe open fractures.
Dr. Nelson took us to the operating room as a patient was undergoing surgery.
Most of these patients have had walls fall on them, sometimes ceilings fall on them. We've had a few jumping injuries, even some that came from close by here where the earthquake wasn't so strong. People jump off of a balcony and have lower extremity fractures from that.
Inside the ward, it's a race to keep up with the massive influx of patients.
Just 3 days ago, this wing was under construction and it was empty. Now, there's not an empty bed in the entire ward. They've seen over 100 patients in just the last 48 hours.
She has a femur fracture here on the right side and another femur fracture on the left side.
Both of Carlin Bernard's femurs snapped in half as she tried to escape a crumbling market. Hers is just one of thousands of harrowing stories from patients suffering this tragedy.
She could feel the earth shaking and she started to run. And as she started to run, she was hit by falling debris. And there was a man that was next to her who died, who was crushed by that debris. And she says that God blessed her, she's alive.
Carlin Bernard will have 2 metal rods placed into her legs. And the good news, Tony, doctors tell us she will be able to walk again after her surgery. Now, that's a much different outcome than many of us saw back in 2010, when many crush victims often immediately faced amputation. Tony?
So, Vlad, let's talk about 2010 because your reporting was powerful then. It's powerful now. What are the biggest changes that you've seen in the response in the emergency operations there in Haiti?
So sadly, Tony, from 2010, one of the things that I remarked when I started to see the video coming in on Saturday was I had a hard time telling the difference between 2010 and 2021 because nothing has been done to ensure the safety of Haitians in the wake of that devastating 2010 earthquake. The other thing, Tony, is the roads. In the entire time that I've been coming to Haiti over the last dozen years, the roads are still insecure. So we have to helo in to the disaster zone because the roads are either impassable because of fallen debris or because they're controlled by bandits. All of these issues that we're talking about, Tony, are man-made. The earthquake is a natural disaster that every country around the planet faces, but many of the problems that Haitians suffer through, all of the calamities that they face, have been man-made, Tony.
Yeah, there's what we can control and what we cannot, and there's a big difference between the two. Vlad Duthiers continuing his exceptional coverage in Port-au-Prince. Vlad, thank you very much.